Let's start with a simple thought experiment. It's tonight, maybe around 8:30 p.m. You're at home. The lights are on. The refrigerator is humming in the background. Your phone is charging on the counter, and suddenly, the power goes out. The lights switch off. The house goes quiet. Your Wi-Fi disappears. At first, you probably assume it's temporary. Maybe a transformer blew. Maybe a storm passed through. So you wait. 5 minutes, 10 minutes. But let's ask a different question. What would you actually do if the power didn't come back tonight? Not in theory, in reality. Because most people think they're prepared for a blackout until they walk through the details. Today we're going to do exactly that, not to create fear, but to create clarity. The first 10 minutes. In the first few minutes, most homes react the same way. Someone reaches for a flashlight, maybe a candle. Phones come out to check local outage reports. At this stage, the situation feels manageable. Your phone still has battery. Your refrigerator is still cold. The house temperature hasn't changed yet. Nothing feels urgent. But the clock has already started. Because once the grid stops supplying electricity, every system inside your home begins operating on borrowed time. The first hour. After an hour, the inconvenience becomes more noticeable. The Wi-Fi router is still down. Streaming devices stop working. Televisions are silent. Most kitchen appliances are unusable. If your stove is electric, cooking becomes difficult. Your garage door opener may not work. But more importantly, communication changes. Without Wi-Fi, many homes rely entirely on cellular networks for information. And during widespread outages, those networks can become overloaded. At this point, you're no longer just waiting, you're monitoring. The refrigerator clock, one of the first practical concerns during an outage, is food safety. According to basic food safety guidelines, a refrigerator can keep food cold for about 4 hours if the door stays closed. A full freezer can maintain temperature for around 48 hours, but only if it remains unopened. Which means every decision starts to matter. Do you open the fridge? Do you move items to a cooler? Do you cook something before it spoils? These may seem like small questions, but they illustrate something important. Electricity quietly manages thousands of daily decisions for us. When it disappears, those decisions return. Temperature and comfort. Now let's talk about temperature. If it's winter, the heating system stops. If it's summer, air conditioning disappears. At first, the temperature change is slow, but depending on the season and the insulation of the home, indoor conditions can shift quickly. Older homes lose heat faster. Upper floors trap heat during summer outages. After several hours, the environment inside the house begins to feel different. Not dangerous yet, but uncomfortable. And discomfort changes how people think. The communication problem. Another issue that appears during longer outages is communication. Wi-Fi routers require electricity. Internet service stops. Cell towers typically have backup power, but those backups are not unlimited. In widespread outages, networks can slow down or fail after extended periods. Now imagine trying to get updates about the outage with limited information. Is the issue local? Is it regional? Will power return in an hour or tomorrow? Uncertainty becomes part of the experience. The 12-hour mark. If power is still out after 12 hours, the situation begins to shift. Phones need charging. Food decisions become more urgent. Home temperatures may start drifting outside comfortable ranges. Families begin adjusting routines. Flashlights become the primary lighting source. Cooking options become limited. Sleep becomes less predictable, especially if temperatures change significantly. This is the stage where most households realize how deeply daily life depends on electricity. The 24-hour threshold. After 24 hours, the experience becomes something else entirely. Food loss becomes likely. Freezer items start thawing. If the outage occurs during extreme cold or heat, maintaining safe indoor temperatures becomes more difficult. Medical devices that rely on electricity may become a serious concern. And small inconveniences begin to add up. Charging phones in vehicles, driving to find open gas stations, looking for stores that still have power. The problem is no longer just your house. It's the entire infrastructure around you. When the grid stops, the modern grid is an incredible system. Millions of homes powered simultaneously. Electricity delivered almost instantly. But that system is centralized. Which means when it fails, even temporarily, the effects are widespread. Gas pumps require electricity. Traffic lights require electricity. Many grocery stores and pharmacies cannot operate normally without it. So a home blackout can quickly become a community blackout. And that's when the question changes. It's no longer, when will the lights come back? It becomes, how prepared is my household for this? The preparedness gap. Here's the interesting part. Most families prepare for short outages. Flashlights in a drawer, maybe extra batteries. But few households evaluate what happens after 24 or 48 hours. That's where the real preparedness gap exists. Not in the first hour, in the second day. Because if essential systems, refrigeration, communication, heating, or cooling, cannot operate independently, the household is fully dependent on the grid's recovery timeline. And that timeline isn't always predictable. Stability versus convenience. Preparedness doesn't mean running your entire home during an outage. Most families don't need that. Preparedness means something simpler. Stability. Keeping essential systems running long enough to bridge the gap until normal service returns. Basic lighting, food preservation, communication, temperature safety. Those essentials define the difference between inconvenience and vulnerability. A different way to think about energy. Most people think about electricity only as a monthly bill, but events like outages reveal something deeper. Electricity is infrastructure, just like water supply, just like transportation networks. And when infrastructure becomes invisible, we stop evaluating how dependent we are on it, until the moment it disappears. That's when awareness begins. The question that matters. So let's return to the question we started with. If the power went out tonight, what would you actually do? Not for the first hour, but for the first day, and maybe the second. If the answer isn't clear yet, that's normal. Most people haven't walked through the scenario step by step. But once you do, you start seeing the structure behind the problem. And once you see the structure, solutions become easier to understand. On this channel, we break down these topics in a practical way, without panic, without exaggerated claims. Just clear conversations about how energy systems affect real households. In upcoming videos, we'll explore what realistic home power backup looks like, how families identify essential energy needs, the difference between temporary fixes and sustainable solutions, how some households are reducing total grid dependency over time. If this kind of structured thinking is helpful, subscribe to the channel. And if you want to learn more about practical approaches families are using to keep essential power available during outages and reduce exposure to rising energy costs, there's a resource linked in the description. You'll also find it in the first pinned comment. It connects directly to what we discussed today, what happens when the grid stops, and how households can prepare in a practical, realistic way. Subscribe, check the link in the description or pinned comment, and I'll see you in the next video.